Good morning. It is Transformation Tuesday, and we are here with you 5 years and still connecting. As you know, and if you have been following us newly, Transformation Tuesday is always about change. Changes we've made, changes we see ourselves making, and changes that have helped us to grow. Our 5 years in counting from this point till now, we have learned to make adjustments. Is there anyone that is listening to our podcast right now that has actually had to make adjustments? And our lines are open at 1-888-721-9260. We're open. We want to hear from you. And so many people, ladies and gentlemen, have definitely learned to make adjustments. As you see yourself, where would you like to make adjustments? Or have you made them already? 5 years in counting has been, I would say, adjustments. A lot of adjustments. Good morning, Trish.
Good morning.
So we want to ask our audience about adjustments. Why are we talking about making adjustments? Because making adjustments comes in our lifetime. Sometimes we get in the regular swing of things. We get used to things. But making adjustments is all about our knowing how to manage it. And when it comes at you to make the adjustment, you're learning that life will do just that for you. So making adjustments in the last 5 years, you've seen a lot of adjustments. You've seen us tell you we want to hear your story. We still do. But we've made adjustments because we want you to understand and realize that our making adjustments can sometimes mean awareness. How many of us are aware of the adjustments that we may need to make? Is there anyone out there that really thinks about adjustments? What would you say about that, Trish?
I would say that I think a lot about making adjustments with things. When I think of adjustment, I mean, I think about how to make things work, how to make things fit, adapt into what I'm doing. It's like fitting in the schedule. So sometimes I adjust my sleep schedule so I can wake up and do more homework in the morning, and then I have a whole free day for myself. Sometimes I make adjustments in my workout routine because sometimes it's too much for me. So I do a little less than I did yesterday, so I won't be so sore and out of energy. So I'll just stop doing my routine. So that's how I see adjustments.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So making adjustments is defined as making changes. Yes. Making changes, no matter how small they are, to improve something or to correct it or even to make it better. And so 5 years in connecting, that's what we've been doing, making the adjustments to do better. There was a time that every day we were in group. Do you remember that time, Trish?
Yes, I
Every
remember.
every day we recorded, and you all were faithful enough to come, and that was our group time, and we made it work. So as time changed, as we have over now 400 plus videos, we have enough videos to stream. That is, you never get tired of listening unless you stop. And so as we thought about our being able to stream, we're still live, okay? And if you always or sometimes want to find us live, all you have to do is follow this page, because we're going to still be making adjustments, making those small adjustments really count. So what do you think about making this change into now we're going to be keeping Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast? Now we have a brick and mortar place, an in-person place. We're still going to be keeping the podcast. See, that small change, or that change that we're making into a building, you're going to be live with us. You're going to be able to come in live on our virtual. You're going to be able to call into the direct connect. So you'll still be an even bigger part of us. So we want that adjustment to fit into your schedule. Okay. If you ever have any questions, comments, we certainly want you to put it in the podcast. That's why we named the podcast. And today, this is Adjustment Making 5 Years and Still Connecting. Uh, Adjustments may look scary, but here's what I want you to do. These are two keys that I want you to think about. That, yes, it's scary, but if you learn to accept and embrace what's going to come with change, you'll be okay. You'll be like that butterfly that learns by discovering, hey, this is great. I want you to embrace it. But then you stop me and you say, well, Miss Nisi, I don't know what those changes are going to mean for me. And that is true, that when we don't know something, we tend to fear the unknown. But I'd like you to think about the possibilities that you have. When we think about change or adjustment, we think about making room for something. And I want to always talk about the butterfly. You'll know that that's part of our program, because you can learn so much from that delicate creature, because we are very delicate many times with our emotions, with our mental and emotional health, right? So you will come in and you say, I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know what that's going to mean. Every butterfly that you have seen is fluttering its wings to the next destination. That butterfly came from somewhere, right? But it's not worried about what it's going to encounter. It doesn't know the storms that it will face. And that butterfly isn't afraid. I want you to think about that. You're human. Yes, you have fragility. But you know what? You can learn to handle both big and small storms in your life. So let's talk about the first thing, dilemmas. How many of you have ever had a dilemma in your life? Something came up. You weren't expecting it, right? But now this has come up and it's thrown a wrench or kink in your life, and you feel fear. We know fear all too well. Now, that fear is definitely a four-letter word, but yet it is one of the biggest impediments in our life. It is something that will stop you dead in your tracks. But here you are. You're faced with a dilemma. Something out of the ordinary happens. I know with me, when something out of the ordinary happens, I get all frustrated. Anybody felt that? Because this dilemma has come up, and I say to myself, what am I going to do? Here's what you're going to do is think about that. What are you going to do? And under that should be options. What are your options? Things may be difficult to handle. Things may overwhelm you. Things may be unfamiliar and take you out of your normalcy of life. Many of you have already conquered your dilemmas. Now, I don't know what your dilemmas are, just like you don't know what mine are, but can you think back the last time you had a dilemma, a situation, an issue, a challenge? Now, you're wondering what to do, but in that wondering what to do, you now realize, and we're going to go back to the word of options, and you're going to start to recognize that you have options. And I want you to write down what your options are with whatever dilemma you're dealing with. What do you want to do? You could worry about your situation. You could research what's going on in your situation. You could figure out what your next move is. Those are your options. And I want you all to think about making your adjustments. You know, because when you stay on the move, just like that butterfly, though very fragile, that butterfly has power. And so do you, you human. You must be able to attempt to make adjustments. Did you hear the word come closer? I said you must attempt. You must move, think, proceed. And that's why every time you come into Vibe Talk, that's what it's supposed to do. Help you to practice a thought, being mindful of your options, and taking the opportunity to challenge so that you may stay well. I want you to be able to acknowledge and give yourself a reason to move forward. Yes, moving forward and not being stuck. Even if the decisions that you've made or you're making don't turn out so great, there's always the opportunity to keep trying. Now, how many of you have heard the word keep trying?
I have.
And what did that mean to you, to keep trying?
To me, it means keep going.
Yeah,
Don't stop.
that's what it means to me. Not to give up. Now, there has been some mornings where we have put together our podcast, or some mornings that we put together, or we're doing the podcast and something fails. See, we didn't stop. We made the adjustments. And boy, did we ever in the last 5 years up until this very day. See, if you don't make the adjustment and you refuse to take risk, you're going to miss out. And I'm telling you, some amazing opportunities. When you live with fear, because fear is one of our biggest opponents. You see, all that fear that you have will stop you dead in your tracks and drag you to the very bottom of the pit. Now think about that. Unless you like living in the darkest of the pits, then I guess fear would be good for you. But if you don't like fear, you've just been given in the last 17 minutes making it. Sometimes we try to take decisions, and it's like taking a jigsaw puzzle that has 1,000 pieces. Now that's overwhelming. Or going to our local library and trying to consume all the books in a week's time. Overwhelming. And that's why I say to you, stop. Make your adjustment according to your circumstances. I didn't tell you it would be easy, but I did say you had opportunities. Like, when do you want to be well? You say, Miss Nisi, I want to get well. I've been seeing the doctor, and like we told you, we are not doctors. I don't have a medical degree. I am, however, a certified wellness and life coach. Went to school for it. You don't necessarily have to, but in order to help you, I had to help myself. So what do when I say, I want to make an adjustment. I want to get well. I start to move. That's another word I want you to write down. Because just simply talking about getting well is not going to help the mind. The mind has to process the information, and then the brain says, I know what I'll do. And you physically have to get up and do something like a person who decides that they want to be healthy, physically healthy. So they will start a regimen of walking perhaps for an hour before or after work. I see a lot of people doing that. That's great. But now you have made another decision on top of that. You're going to now add a little bit more, and you're going to start getting on a diet at the same time that you're making this decision. And you say, no more fast food. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to prepare all my meals. And on top of that, you're going to make a school decision and perhaps to show that you could be at your very best. So what are you doing? You're taking on more than you absolutely can handle. It becomes to you like that jigsaw puzzle with 1,000 pieces. So you've got this decision, you've got that decision, and what happens? Stress. You had ever felt stressed? Everyone listening to this should be able to identify stress. It's going to catch up with you. And then what are some things that could happen? Things start to fall off. So you say, you know what? I've got myself in a situation where I have stress. What's the message behind this? As you're making adjustments, you don't have to take on all the big adjustments. Working on one thing at a time instead of many things at one time. I want you to remind yourself that adjustments take time. Can you imagine? Let's exercise the blink of an eye just for a moment. We are not conscious as to how many times we have blinked in the last 22 minutes. But now, I want you to think about, what if you blinked? You're aware of the blink, and then the blink of an eye, you expect everything to change, right? Every time you blink, how would you feel? Because you just blinked, and everything is exactly the way it is. What's the take home of this? It's trying to help you to understand that nothing takes place in a blink of an eye. We say that a lot. You know, like that thing, here today, gone tomorrow, that didn't take place in a blink of an eye. And that's why we know about emotional intelligence and how to verbiage our words. Nothing happens in the blink of an eye. It takes time. By your goal setting, maybe you're going to take one day at a time. Maybe there's going to be 2 things you'll do and you're able to attain them. You'll be able to think. You'll be able to come up with new things to add to that. Why are we even talking about this? Because we want you to know that nothing happened in Vibe Talk in the blink of an eye. 5 years in comparison to 5 years before that, that was time. Everything takes time. So I want you to think about the time and think about your investment into yourself, right? I want you to discover that your adjustments can empower you. Why? Because when you're in power to do something, nothing will stand in your way if you believe in your ability. Nothing will stand in your way. You will want to make the adjustments. Not only will you want to, you will be able to take your power and say, I can do this. I can live my life to the fullest by making proper adjustments because I want to. So all of you who have been with Vibe Talk, and those of you who are about to discover it for the year 2025, we want you to know that it was not easy to make the adjustments that we've made. Sometimes Trisha and I, we talk about adjustments, and you know what begins to happen? We'll work with it, and then we'll come back to the table and we'll uh, talk about what we liked about this year. Yeah, do we want to see any changes? Yeah, we've worked on those changes. Can you imagine if we never talked about it, where Vibe Talk would be? And so we take pride in making adjustments. How about you? There are many opportunities. So everything just doesn't come about. There's moving parts. So when you think about your life, your decisions, many of you are parents and you have to make decisions for your younger children. We understand the process of making decisions. In that, we want to be clear about the decision that we have now. We have a building that people can come in and out of. When you make the adjustment, I want you to think clearly as to how can this help you? If you can pull yourself up out of fear, you can do a lot. Just remember that. Pulling yourself out of fear. Many of you have already done that. And you go, wow, I was really scared to go through the unknown, but I got through what I didn't even know was going to come to me. But looked like fear became strength. That's what I think about Life Talk, is that it became strength to us. Once we got our sea legs, so to speak, we began to put more shows out. And added to that, ideas, creative ideas. And so I want you to think about where you are in your life. Because we're not going to get everything perfect, guys. There's no way. But if you try, and try again, you will become successful. And believe me, life can be full of disappointments along the way as you make adjustments. Life can be very unsettling at times, but if you keep trying, you've got nothing but to look forward to many doors that will open for you. We've looked at Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast, and for the last 5 years, boy, have we made adjustments. We're going to be right back, and we will hear from Trisha. Treasures. We'll be right back. We're back. And Trish, take it away.
So when I started college, I had to make adjustments because before I started college, I was very dependent on my parents. And when I had a problem or something, I'll go to my dad and he'll be like, oh, let's go down there. Let's fix it. And when I got into college, I remember my first day before my dad dropped me off. He was like, before he dropped me and my sister off, he was like, okay, it's up to you now. You have to do what you have to do. This is your life. And the decisions that you make counts for everything that you do. And so he was like, goodbye, God bless. And that was it. And at first, I didn't take it serious because I'm like, what is he talking about? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I like he's still gonna be there for me, right? He's still gonna help me out, right? And I I I learned what he meant because as I got older, being in college, because I was in college ever since I was 21 years old. So as I got older, I realized, you know what? If I have a problem, like with the teacher or something, I can't just go to my dad. I could, but I'm 23, so when I go to my dad about a situation, it's not the same because I'm older and I feel like I should be able to handle it, adjust to being independent, moving from dependence to independence, and adjusting from, okay, this is happening, but what can I do? What are my options? I love that we talked about options today because I'm working on having a lot of options because when I go into certain situations, for example, when I make presentations, I have high expectations that, you know what, there's no technical difficulties. I checked like 10 times and it's going to turn out perfect, spotless, nothing's going to happen. And then when I go there, it's technical difficulties all around. The PowerPoint has disappeared before. That has happened to me. Um, I thought I turned in the final draft of the essay, but I turned in the rough draft that the teacher told me to fix. And like everything was going wrong. Like it was dilemma after dilemma. And I was like, I don't understand why this is happening to me because I double checked and I double checked, I triple checked, and something still went wrong. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I need options. I need backup plans. Maybe that's the adjustment that I need to make. And I did a lot instead of making little adjustments. Sometimes I would just delete the whole essay and write a new one. I know some people might think, "Wow, that took a mile right there." And I did. I did take a mile, make a mile out of just a feet. And I learned that making adjustments is important because in having options as well with your adjustments because first of all, adjustments are new. They're they're a part of change. And adjusting with change has a lot to do with okay, my mindset is not the same as it was. I'm thinking this way now. So how do I support this adjustment that I made? What's the option that I need to adapt to this adjustment to support myself? Because when you make adjustments, sometimes it's not supported by the people that you want to support your adjustment. So you have to depend on you, just like I had to depend on me that day when my dad dropped me off to college. I had to depend on me. I have to be independent. And I say all this to say, when you're making an adjustment, it's your choice whether you want to be independent of your adjustment, or if the adjustment doesn't seem for you that is going to work, you can give up. It's up to you. But hang in there, keep trying. Your first attempt doesn't have to be your last attempt. And remember that change is important, and every change matters, just as your decisions.
Thank you for that. Trisha's Treasures can be found on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. We're encouraging you guys to go find that channel. Like if you do. We're streaming everywhere. What's the take home for me? What did I learn and discover about today's podcast? Even with this show or podcast, I didn't think about change. I always knew that change is inevitable, and I've also never realized that along the way we took our butterfly wings and we started to make adjustments because we had a lot of flaws while producing this podcast. We rethought things, and we never presented to you guys the same way. We may have discussed things, but it was never presented to you the exact same way because we felt like change was important. Don't you think in 5 years that there has been change? Sometimes we don't even recognize that we're changing. And you know why we don't recognize the change? Because nobody has ever told us you need to recognize the change. We need to look in the mirror and acknowledge, embrace, and love the change that we have become in a very positive way. 5 years and still connecting. There were days, I'm sure, that you felt like you wanted to give up, but you didn't. Clap for yourself in that you didn't give up. You kept going. Even what looked like fear to you turned in success. Wherever you are in your point in life of growth, growing is an important part of who you are and who I am. That's what I've learned and discovered about today's podcast. How about yourself, Trish? What is your take home of learning and discovering about this podcast?
I've learned and discovered about this particular podcast is change is inevitable. And it's crazy that you said that, because when I came on Vibe Talk, that was the goal, to change. That was the decision. And that's everything in life. You have to make a decision to change. And that's what begins the adrenaline for change, the passion of changing. And with this podcast, we've changed a lot in 5 years, and it's important to change. Change is very important, and adjusting and adapting to change. It's a good thing because where we were, let's see, the first 3 years, we've changed a lot in those times, and I think it was necessary. It was very necessary, and it fits with each time that we changed something or that we adjusted a certain day with just questions and things like that. So I've learned that change is important, change is inevitable, and with every change, um, it's impactful. Every change is impactful. So that's what I learned to discover.
Thank you, Trish. You know, when you guys are listening to us, I want you guys to think about all the times that you wished you had called in, all, all the times where you didn't call in. Because I had someone say to me the other day, they called in, and they said, I really have been listening to the podcast, but I never called in. But this one, I want to talk about. You'll hear it on our Think About Wednesday. You'll hear that call. And we get a lot of that. And you know what it is? It's doubt or fear that consumes us. Because we could have said, what if I would have called in that day? Because sometimes people have called in and it has changed their life completely. Now, we're no miracle workers of any kind. And as I say on every podcast, there's no medical degree that I have. What I do have is experience. And my experience has been able to help you help yourself. Or has it? Trish has experience. You know, there are thousands of podcasts. So many that life would sweep you all up. You have to find the right fit for you. And so as you listen to these podcasts, whether you're living in Greece or California, we ask that you share them. Because if it's affecting you and it's having impact and discovery to you, can you imagine the one person that you share it with? That one person can be so impacted by it that he shares with others. Because we're getting all your states. You guys are listening. As soon as we post, you guys are listening. We go back. We can go back right now and tell you how many plays our video has had. So that means that you guys are really, really listening. Do yourself a favor and be counted for. Share somebody that you think will really benefit from it. Not because of ratings or anything like that, because I'll tell you, there's been nobody in the room, our virtual room, when Trish and I have struck up conversations. But here's the catch, or, or the most important thing I should say, not the catch. We and someone listened. Make adjustment. Because 25, I'm not working, you know. Last but not least, I want you to think deeply about your loved one, someone that could have used this particular podcast or information about it, and they're not here this year. We don't know the circumstances. Our hearts go out to you because sometimes they may have needed to hear something, or sometimes it's that I didn't say this, I didn't get to say this, making adjustments. I was so upset about something the other day that I stopped myself dead in my tracks. I said what I had to say, and I was rightfully upset. But when you think about the ones that you love and the ones that love you, there are small things that can change a relationship forever. I wanted to be the person that realized that I was angry, I was hurt. So you know what I did yesterday? I made the adjustment to go back and just acknowledge the person. Sometimes that's all it takes because your loved ones, they're not going to be forever. This is the time of the year, 5 years I'm connecting, where people get very depressed. Suicide is on the horizon these times of year. And at your place settings this time of year, there's going to be one or two that are missing. They didn't want to come, but they are no longer among us. Let's really think about that kind of a change because relationships change. Let's make every day days of celebrating adjustment. Because maybe you're the one that changes among you have been great. Somebody else who's trying to make the change may be going through what is seeming like a battlefield of war against themselves. Let's think about them too. Somebody needs to hear this podcast today. And so Trish and I ask of you to share it. Over the holidays, you know, we've made a commitment. We don't want to interrupt your holiday. There are 400 and something videos. If you just hashtag Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast and click one, you'll never have enough time to just listen to all of them. But I guarantee you that you will see yourself different. And what do I mean by different? That you will recognize you too have butterfly wings. You will recognize movements, you will recognize action, you will recognize opportunity, and you will accept and embrace everything that comes with it. Are you ready? Tuesday's transformation from 5 years back to this very day has helped you make changes. Have you been listening? We thank you. I want to thank my amazing co-host for everything that you have contributed. Our sons, my goodness. I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough for being here, for developing, for trusting me into developing a segment for you. Because you could have said, you know, I really don't want to do that. Even when you feared it, you took it on. That's courage, lion courage to me. You've done. And I wish you all would take a chance on life yourself and making those needed adjustments. Don't let another year go by where you haven't made the adjustment that you think in your mind, I should do it, I should do it, but you never do. Make this year be the one that's connecting and counting. I want to thank all of you amazing listeners. Here's the good part. No matter what we have put out for you to listen to, you guys think plus. Have you noticed that, Trish?
Yes, I've noticed that.
Because you could write anything in the comments, and we appreciate that you guys are taking this podcast seriously. So thank you. I don't think this year has been one negative comment. We accept that too, because sometimes when you guys correct us, guess what? We get to see ourselves, but you understand our movement. Every wherever you are around the world, we say thank you. We will still. We didn't know, Trish and I, that this was going to be a 5-year and still connecting happy anniversary to Vibe Talk. We had no idea until we started putting the segment together. And it's, I want to be honest with you guys, and I'll let Trish say how she feels in a minute. So far, I've loved the 5th year anniversary. So far, because a lot of changes. Trish, what about you? What's been your favorite year?
I love this year too because it's like it's a new vibe, but it's a new take also on the past years. And I love the phrase 5 years and still connecting because that's what we're about. We're about accessing ourselves and connecting to ourselves. So I love this year.
Thank you. It's been honesty, it's been tears, it's been laughter, it's been doubting ourselves, and then we say, no, no, let's do it this way. Tomorrow will be another one of those meetings where Trish and I get together behind the scenes and we talk about what we've presented thus far, what we'd like to change, what we'd like to do. If you are running across this, please, let's interact more. I cannot wait till the doors literally open on January the 6th, because we will be doing workshops. You'll be there. You'll do the workshops. We have fun doing those. I cannot wait to celebrate on January the 4th, Saturday. And our speeches, what we want to talk about. This has been something that Trish and I have talked about, having a brick and mortar building, one that you can come into, one that you can privately talk to me, one that you can sit in a group and do all the things that we have done 5 years and connecting. We take it very seriously. Remember the name Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. When you click listen, let us know where you're from. We are so awed by the fact we are an inspiration that some of you have listened in Greece, in Denmark, in the UK. And it's been by the footwork of both Trish and myself. And that's what I love about the internet. You put something on the internet, guys, It'll go faster than Starbucks. And that's what her and I have kept doing, advertising, showing you through music. You all have done such beautiful work. We want to count your cities, states, and countries as that 1%, because that was my first thought back when I started this in 2020. That if one person would listen, that means that I've helped someone be impacted in their life. Just one. And it turned out to be many of you guys. Many of you guys have listened. Men, women, even young people, teens have listened. We never know. So I ask you, please keep making adjustments. You have nothing to. If you don't take the risk, you'll never know what that fear turned out to be. And many people will tell you they were afraid at first, but they have success stories. Thank you all for listening. And I hope that this change has been good for you. It's Tuesday transformation. Because I don't want you just to make a resolution. I want you to think about. I was really about to lose it, then I got the vibe with it. I really took my time with it. I really love the ride with it. Real, really got the vibe with it. I took my time with it.